Hey everyone, Tim Anderson here, aka Renfield, aka the Angry Bearded White Dude, and I'm here with another rant. And this time we're talking about Wheel of Time, which technically I should have done months ago when the show aired. But I did watch it with my wife, who was coming into it with the perspective of never having read the book. So I was trying really hard to be objective. She gave it an 8 out of 10, just as sort of a general fantasy show, but she knows nothing about the books. And I went into it thinking that I wasn't a book purist, and then finished that season realizing not only am I a book purist, but I am now becoming a bigger book purist as the years go on. We're going to be talking about that today. If this is your first time here, welcome aboard. Don't forget to like the video as you go through, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, all those good things. Don't forget to check out all the other playlists that we have here on YouTube. And if you want to support the channel, you can join as a member, but you can also go over to our Patreon page and figure out what my wife and my brother and I are up to with our fantastical world of the Weave and the Void. Plus, there's a Discord. All the links are down there. So let's dive in. We got a GQ article we're going to link to, we got a CBR article that we're going to link to, and we're going to get this Inside Hook article linked to as well. This article in particular talks about the Wheel of Time, which gets plenty right, but one crucial thing wrong. I disagree. I don't think the show did anything right. Honestly, it was one of the worst fuck ups I've seen in terms of adaptations ever. Where do we start? First and foremost, the fact that the Two Rivers, where it starts off, all the sets look pristine. They don't look lived in. It's like they built these multi-million dollar sets, and all of the costumes, all of the set, everything just looks as if it was built yesterday. There's no lived in nature to this. The only time we get anything, any sense of what might have come before, the fact that this is a world with thousands of years of history, is when we get some wide shots where they've CGI'd in some of the ancient skyscrapers and cities from the modern times that came before, when the Aes Sedai were more powerful and they had technology and everything else. Um, this in comparison to, say, Game of Thrones, where everything was muddy, dirty, and gritty. And I fucking hate comparing every show to Game of Thrones. And I have a rant video coming out about that. But in this case, I do want to paint that picture because it does show you the difference between a show that cares about the realism and giving you a realistic medieval fantasy world, and this, which is just this glossy paintbrush of CGI and perfect rope, perfect clothes and perfect sets, and it's just not cool. The one thing I do like about this Inside Hook article, though, is they talk about the thing, one of the things that Peter Jackson did right with the introduction to the Fellowship of the Ring and sort of introducing us to the history. And instead of having this nice 7 or 8 minute segue, we get just a hustle and bustle of boom, 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 boom. And then we're starting the show, and it's like we didn't even realize anything about it. This one I do like, the 8 things Wheel of Time gets wrong from the books. I do want to cover this briefly. Not all of these things are super important to me. Some of them are. Going back to things that they got horribly wrong in that first episode was just the fact that, like, Perrin having a wife, I still do not agree, even though I understand why they did it. I understand for the purposes of the character arc in the show. I understand why they did it that way. I don't agree with it. I would not have done it that way, and I think it's a horrible decision, and there was just so much wrong. One of the biggest issues for me with the show was the fact that they took all of this history and they took like the first 3 books basically and crunched it down into less than 10 episodes, and as a result, everything feels rushed, everything feels sloppy. So much wrong here. Um, First and foremost, Moraine is secretive about being an Aes Sedai. I hated this change. The Aes Sedai were never secretive. They wear their freaking rings on their finger, and they are not afraid. They have their shawls, and everything about them screams Aes Sedai. They are not secretive about their identity in the books, and yet in the show they are. I don't agree with that decision at all. The White Cloaks are more overtly um, villainous. This one, I don't mind this change so much because you get to realize as you read the books that the White Cloaks overall are not necessarily a villainous organization, but they do have some villainous people within the organization. And they've chosen to focus on the villainous people within that organization to show the fact that there are zealots within them that can do great harm, which is not a bad thing for a TV show adaptation. Um, Yeah, getting rid of Mordith from Shadar Logoth made no sense to me. Also, it's just like Matt just finds the dagger just sitting there. Like, I didn't like any of the way that that played out. I also hated the fact that we just, whatever, I'm not going to get into that. We'll talk about other stuff. This one is an interesting side component, which I can kind of understand why they did the way they did in terms of adapting it to make him appear more charismatic and powerful, and they did a good job with that scene in terms of showing when he bursts out of his chains and he basically almost decimates all of the Aes Sedai. Um, from a creative vision standpoint, I understand why they had that in there visually because they wanted to show how powerful Logain was and the danger of the tainted nature of the male side of the source. Number four, this one I actually get and I understand and I appreciate and I approve of because in the book it's just white and it's tainted with black if it's male. Um, but here we gave it visual colors to sort of represent what's going on. Um, it's um, it's interesting. Uh, it's. I think it's done like they say here for aesthetic or production purposes, probably to give people an idea of this is air, this is water, this is fire, etc. I get it. Oh, this one irks me. The heron marked blades are somehow this thing that isn't such a big deal. In the books, it was very much a big deal. The fact that Rand has one given him by his father marks him to many people um, as this person of interest, and that was something that they just threw away in the show. They did have a throwback to it, sort of an Easter egg for readers, in the sense that in the very first episode, when we see his father pull the blade out from under the bed, you see the heron, and everyone's like, "Ooh!" and then it's gone. They don't do anything with that. I hated the fact that the Waygates didn't need the leaf, you know, and she was able to open it with the one power, and it's like all this other stuff that they did wrong, in my mind. I didn't appreciate it. Ah, I like this article. The pool of Satan is missing at the Eye of the World. Well, the Eye of the World was not. It's just that this was another thing they did horribly wrong. I hated the last episode horrifically. Um, yeah, and who knows what went on here. I know in the GQ article, which is linked here, they do talk about Roth, the showrunner, talks about how he got I think he said over 11,000 notes from Amazon on the pilot episode alone, telling him this shot needs to be changed and this detail needs to be changed. And it almost feels like there's this sense of not letting a showrunner do what he's supposed to do in the first place. Like if his creative vision is the vision you're trusting to bring the show to life, shut the fuck up and get out of the way and let him do his job as opposed to micromanaging, because micromanaging never ends up in good results for anybody or anything. So not a big fan of how this turned out ultimately at the end of the day. I honestly don't think there's anything positive that I take away from season one, and I'm really disappointed, and I'm not looking forward to season two. I will end up watching it because Chris will want to watch it, but I'm going to be sitting on the couch I'm going to be pretending like it's a completely different fantasy show and it has nothing to do with the Wheel of Time books that I know and love. Love to hear your thoughts. Drop them down below, comments, etc. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if I've earned your subscription. Don't forget to smash all of those buttons. Hit that bell icon. Join our Discord. Links are down below. And if you want to support the channel, join as a member. Or you can head over to the Patreon page and pick up a subscription over there. Either way, we'll see you next time in one of these places.